Hey, this is Bijal, COO of Financial Freedom, and we have another interview with a mentor, a parenting mentor. Super excited to bring Jen to speak to you today. But first, make sure you like and subscribe so you can catch more of our interviews with parenting mentors and check out our community over at financialfreedom.com. Okay, Jen, I'm super excited about our little conversation here today. I know that this is a kind of a trailer to a workshop that you're going to be doing for our community. But first of all, I'm kind of reading here. You've been featured in magazines in the UK. You've coached over 1,000 parents worldwide during your 13 years. In this, you've got a 99% success rate of helping parents with a specific matter, which we'll talk about in a moment. You've been called the child whisperer. So I believe that you are qualified to speak to our parenting community, and for that matter, anyone watching on social media. So let's get straight into it. Jen, what do you do and why do you do it?
Yeah. I love the question, why do I do it? So I want to kind of go there first. I guess it makes sense to say that I work with parents. Predominantly, I work with parents of children that are highly sensitive. So these are children that are not just emotional, but they process everything in their environment on a deeper level than a child who isn't so sensitive. And the reason why I do this is because I was that kid. I was that child who, you know, you might look at me today and think, surely you weren't like the shy, quiet child. But I felt so uncomfortable in my skin as a kid. I felt so anxious. And I really had a tough time. And I wouldn't have been able to articulate that at the time. But I'm 39 now, and looking back at my childhood, I can see how it had such an impact on the way that I believe, the beliefs that I had, the way that I thought about myself. And as I came into the personal development space myself, I realized that, like many people, oh my gosh, so much of the way that I think and see life is based upon how, I was spoken to as a child, and my experience as a child. So I am just so passionate about helping parents be able to lead their children. Really, because at the heart of it, I have a big heart for children, and I just don't want children to have the same experience that I had. And I will say, as a side note, I have amazing parents. I've just spent the week with my parents. I did not have in any way, shape, or form, an awful childhood. But what I didn't have was what hopefully we'll get to talk about today, is a level of real connection with my parents. My parents did not know how to speak to me in a way that made me feel seen, understood, validated. And that in itself was enough to really deeply impact the way that I thought and saw life later on. So I think it's really important that we get clear on that this is not just like, somebody who had really deep levels of trauma growing up. This is just, oh no, my parents just literally didn't know how to communicate with me. And that in itself deeply impacted how I felt as a kid. So
And
that's why I do this
I
work.
think it's important to just to reiterate that I think you know generally speaking, parents love their kids, they want the best
Yeah,
of the kids. But as you said, it doesn't mean that parents know exactly how to talk to their kids or
yeah,
even really raise the kids in a way that's empowering. And we're going to talk about empowering in just a second because that's
yeah.
the subject of our workshop, and how when we think we are empowering the kids, we might be doing almost the exact opposite. But before we
Yeah,
get to that
yeah.
topic, Jen, so what's the core work to do? What is it you do kind of day to day, and what is it you help parents slash families
Mm.
achieve in terms of an end result?
Yeah, great question. So basically, it's normally parents that come to me have children of that are struggling with high levels of anxiety. So they're avoiding going to social situations. They might have school refusal. Or it might literally be things like they're struggling with their homework, or they're struggling academically. And a lot of that is rooted in fear and anxiety, that's really impacting their self-esteem. But I would say a huge proportion of the parents that come to me have children that are literally like erupting volcanoes. They are just so angry, and I'm seeing this happen, seeing this as a more of a common thing, that young children are just so angry. You know, they're bottling up so many emotions inside. And I find that the parents that normally come to me are parents that recognize that their child is actually a child who feels deeply. They pick up their parents' feelings, they pick up their peers' feelings, but they just don't know what the heck to do with these feelings. And so they're bottling up these feelings inside. And it's coming out in the way that they speak negatively about themselves. They're constantly saying that they can't do things, or they're, you know, shouting at their parents, and it comes out in their behavior. So the end result is literally, I coach these parents to be able to stop feeling like they want to avoid their child, because let's face it, when you have a child who is feeling those big feelings, it's really hard to be around, and it can be really triggering for a lot of parents to be around those big emotions themselves. So the end outcome is helping a parent be able to feel calm enough to be around the child without feeling like they want to correct their child, or, you know, change how they're behaving or feeling, or literally without feeling like they want to leave the room. And as you shared earlier, I literally that I do have a track record of being able to help parents radically reduce those emotions, and sometimes it is within sort of 6 to 10 weeks of time, which is absolutely a short amount of time when you have an 8 or a 10 or 12-year-old child, you know, who has been feeling this way or behaving this way for a long time. So it's exciting to be able to support parents in that way.
So let me ask you a question. As you're speaking, I was just kind of thinking, do the kind of current events that, you know, we've just gone through 2 years of the pandemic. Now
Yeah.
we're on the brink of war, but there is definitely, the media is full of the war, right? That's
Yeah.
happening, and the impact it
Yeah.
could have on the world. Do these external factors impact kids in a way that can make them even more sensitive, or is it kids just kind of at that sensitive level and it's not relevant to the environment?
Yeah, massively. I think that I'm definitely seeing in my coaching practice that somebody referenced the other day that, you know, we're in a mental health pandemic, and I really agree with that. But here's my take on this, is that I feel like children and teens were struggling anyway. And I get goosebumps as I say this. I feel this is the truth. They were struggling anyway, but these outside factors are bringing it to light. You know, when you have enough triggers and enough things going on in your environment, that can I really feel like that can bring to light how you're really feeling underneath, you know, because we know that when we have a real sense of resilience and a sense of confidence within, that outside factors don't impact us as much. And COVID pandemic, that a lot of a lot of families were contacting me, but I recognize that, yeah, these families have been struggling for a while anyway, and it's just that the things that are going on within the world were bringing that to the surface, really.
And while this isn't the place to bring forth the solution, what are some signs that parents can look for, that would they say, hey, go check out your work, or at least go learn more about the kind of work you're doing? And
Yeah.
before you answer that, there's one more question, which is, a lot of times parents will dismiss certain behavior, hissy fits. Oh, they're throwing a tantrum. Oh, he's just
Yeah.
being a teenager, right? And,
Yeah.
and it's very obvious when you look at the behavior, it's a very emotional at its core, right?
Yeah.
And the tendency is, it's kids being kids, teens being teens, and a lot of times we have so much going on in our lives. It's almost the inconvenient truth of ignoring that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But what are signs that parents can pick up on and say, you know what, let me do some parenting here and look into this subject matter, just in case, there is something deeper going on
Yeah.
that I should take some steps to address.
Absolutely. So I think that it's if your child is showing a lot of emotion regularly, so they seem to get really overwhelmed. And that isn't a child that will sit in front of you and say, "Oh my gosh, I feel so emotional, I feel so overwhelmed." No, this is a child that will be having, throwing things across the room, hitting their sibling, shouting at you, all the kind of things that many of us were raised to think like, well, that's just you misbehaving or being naughty. That those behaviors are actually signs that no, this kid has got strong feelings, and they just haven't yet been shown how to process those feelings. And the thing is with sensitive children is they they feel those emotions so deeply that it's kind of like they don't know what else to do with those feelings, and it comes out in behavior that, like you say, is inconvenient to us, because it is. And also we've been trained and taught through our this way. And actually I teach parents that behavior is just information. Behavior is just information about how a child is feeling. And I actually find that we don't really have to teach a child how to behave or how to be kind. As human beings, we just naturally are that way. We actually are loving and kind, and all the things we love for our children, we naturally gravitate to those ways when we feel good inside, when our nervous system feels regulated, and when I can just sit here and feel like, yeah, I'm okay, just as I am, I'm a good person, I'm an okay kid. So some of the things you can look out for is your child highly emotional? Do they have big meltdowns? Are they constantly talking negatively about themselves? And I think, as I say, the main point here is watch out for how you might be trying to change your child's behavior, or trying to discipline them, and you might just be that no, actually this is their only way to communicate with you right now, through their behavior. And so sensitive children just get quite overwhelmed and quite overstimulated. So another way to look out for this is when kids or teens really refuse to do homework. Again, something that we might encourage them to do and want to encourage them to excel. But highly sensitive people, when they feel like there's a lot to get done, or they feel like they have a never, some parents watching this probably will relate to this, when there's like a never ending to-do list, kids and teens can look at their homework in the same way. When they feel like there's a lot of pressure to get all of this work done, you might find that your child is refusing to do it, or kicking up a fuss or having a meltdown at those times. And that could just be a sign that actually they're feeling quite overwhelmed, or they feel like there's a lot to get done. And of course, there are ways that we can help children work through that as well.
Excellent. Jen, for people who want to look at, find out more about that particular side of the work you do, what's a good website that they can go visit?
Yeah, sure. So you can go to jenharrison.coach, and that will fill you in on all of the ways that you can get support with your child, if any of that speaks to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then we'll drop the link in the description as well. Now,
Yeah.
let's just switch gears, because I've asked you to come back and teach a workshop on a different topic. And the reason being, I've been in and around the personal development industry, God, since 1992, when I went to my first motivational talk, and I saw a speaker on the stage for the first time. And I looked up on stage, and I was just mesmerized by the stories and the motivational talk. And I was right out of college at the time, and I said, I want to be a motivational speaker. Oh, since that time, since 1992, that's a few number of years now, been to many personal development events, read many books, audio tapes, and those things that existed, CDs, YouTube videos, next year. And you cannot help but start speaking this kind of what is called positive language.
Yeah.
And you can't help kind of trying some of these things out. I just use a word that we'll talk about in a moment, but on your kids, right? So you
Yeah.
think that you're inspiring them. So the
Yeah.
topic of the workshop is basically how positivity or positive talk can actually have a negative impact on
Yeah.
kids. So very
Yeah.
briefly, that we're going to do a whole workshop on this subject, but tell us more about this subject matter and what people are going to learn on the workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. The main things I'm going to be covering are, as you say, how we can actually think that as parents and teachers, the grown-ups in children's lives, that passing on these, this positive language, or this, this kind of like you can do it attitude, or trying to help children reach their potential. We miss something when we do that. In fact, we miss a huge thing when we do that. And this is why a lot of children push back, and they just don't want to know. And the main reason is that it turns out that as human beings, we want to know deep down to our core that we are enough, full stop, as we are. And so as a parent, when you start, and maybe as a parent, as an adult in your own right, as I speak about this, it might start resonating with you as well. As we walk into the personal development world, and I speak for myself here as well, yes, I have this real passion about, you know, growth, learning, I can't get enough of it. I'm constantly wanting to learn and grow. But there's a part of that I've recognized in myself, which is I need to know that who I am today is enough. Like, I need to know down to the core that whether I never pick up another book again, or learn something else, or go to another seminar or masterclass, or whatever it is, I need to know that I am lovable and accepted as I am right now. Because a lot of this personal development and constant need to keep learning can become addictive. And really, it's because we're trying to prove ourselves lots of the time. We're trying to prove, like, hey, I'm a good person, And so children pick up on this when we're trying to say, hey, like, I've worked with growth mindset companies before, and it's incredible the kind of language we can use to help children think more positively and help them feel more confident. But when we miss the fact that we really need to be talking to children in a way that says, hey, I actually don't need you to do this. I actually don't need you to change anything about who you are. I found that when we miss that, children fill in the blank, and children interpret, and this is all the work that I do. The gist of it is helping parents learn what, like, I'm helping parents translate what their children are saying to them, what their children's behavior means, and helping parents learn a whole new language, a whole new way of speaking to their children. And so we really need to be speaking to children in a way that says, you are good enough as you are already. And a lot of parents get concerned about that, because they think, if I say that, my kid might just kick their feet up on the sofa and say, well, I'm enough as I am, I don't need to learn anything or grow. And I found the opposite is true. When we give a human being the space to be who they are naturally going to gravitate towards learning anyway. But they will do it with the core belief that my parents love me and accept me for who I am, full stop. So this is
I'm super excited for the workshop, and just be clear, we're not saying that personal development is wrong. As adults, we choose that. We recognize that some part of us, that we want to improve some part of us. It's a choice that we're making. When it comes to kids, it's often parents telling the kids, hey, even though we mean well, even though we believe that doing personal development work at a young age could help them in the future,
Yeah.
The signal or the message that we may be sending is that you're not good enough right now, but if you follow my advice or the advice,
Yeah.
you're going to be better. And that can often be misinterpreted by a child and have a completely opposite effect. So we're going to go way deeper into this topic, and I'm
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
forward to that workshop. So, guys, if you're a parent, any of these two topics resonate with you, please check out the links below. Make sure you join our fundamental parenting community. Check out Financial Freedom. That's where we teach kids how to make and manage money. It's just one of the verticals that is part of our fundamental campus, where we are taking on subject matters that are not often taught well by parents or not often taught well even in the school system. Jen, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Any last words for parents?
Yeah, I just wanted to round up what you just said there, that personal development is key. This work is key for us as adults and for children. What you just shared there about what you teach children, or teach parents to teach children, is so, so important. I wish I learned this. A thing we need to add on with that. It's like personal development plus being able to give children and ourselves the message that we are enough, that we are acceptable. And when we have that core belief, and we can talk to children in a way that conveys that message, I just find that children are way more open to the things that you want to teach them. So if anything, come along to this workshop if you want to help your child be more open to learning the things you want to teach them, because I'll be able to help you really connect with your child in a way that they're going to actually be, open to what you want to teach them. So I just wanted to finish off on that point.
Thank you. Hey, and remember, please like and subscribe to help our channel grow, get our message out to more parents who are taking a proactive approach to empowering their kids in the right way. And remember, check out financialfreedom.com, where we have a fantastic course that teaches kids and teens how to make and manage money so they don't end up in debt like so many adults of today. Remember, parenting and raising a family can be fun. Jen, thank you so much. We'll see you at the workshop. Bye for now.
Yeah, see you then.